On today's show, the Cavs got a win over the San Antonio Spurs on Thursday night, but that's not the most important thing to come out of that game. We'll talk about that. Plus, Jarrett Allen had a huge fourth quarter. We'll dive in on today's edition of Locked On Cavs.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? My name is Danny Cunningham. You might know me from my time covering the Cleveland Cavaliers, places like my Substack, The Inside Shot, Cleveland Magazine, 92.3 The Fan, and a number of other stops along the way. I want to say thank you to you for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. You can find the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating. Leave us a nice review. Be a friend. Tell a friend about Locked On Cavs. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure a friend is subscribed as well. And if you're watching the show on YouTube, do me a favor. Hit that thumbs up button for me. Click subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content. A proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, because right now new FanDuel customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. The Cleveland Cavaliers back in action, back at home for the first time in what felt like forever. On Thursday night, they get a 124-116 win over the San Antonio Spurs. This was a game that the Cavs probably should have been able to close out earlier than they did. Give credit to San Antonio for fighting back a little bit in this one and making this a closer game than maybe it should have been. We'll get into that a little bit later in the show. We will talk about Jarrett Allen, who had 29 points and 16 rebounds in this game. 27 of those 29 points came in the second half against San Antonio, and in the fourth quarter, Jarrett Allen scored 19 of his 29 points and also had 7 rebounds. So he was great down the stretch. We will get to that as well. But today's show needs to start with Donovan Mitchell, because the best thing that came out of the Cavs game on Thursday night was not that they won, which, yeah, of course, wins matter. Wins and losses matter. This is a results industry. But the fact that Donovan Mitchell looked like Donovan Mitchell is the thing that was most important for the Cavs. So this was, in my opinion, the best, most complete game that Donovan has played since the Cavs beat the Boston Celtics back on February 28th. And in that game, of course, Donovan goes for 40 plus. The Cavs come back from down by 22 points in the first quarter to win a game in Boston that was, I think, the highlight of the regular season, a moment that will not be topped until the playoffs arrive. So since then, he hasn't been great. He's been shooting very poorly from beyond the arc. He hasn't been shooting very well from just the field in general. The one thing he has done well is he's gotten to the free throw line a bunch, even if he hasn't maybe made his free throws at the rate that you would expect him to shoot them at. On Thursday night, I thought he did everything well. And this is kind of after his first stint, like the opening stint, and the Cavs looked like a team early on in this game, and they were down 8-0. Like they looked like a team didn't know what time it was or what city they were in. And when you come back from a 10-day, 5-game West Coast road trip, that's bound to happen. Like I thought, I thought there was money to be made if you're on FanDuel and you can do like the race to X number of points. Thought, man, the race to 10 or the race to 5 or whatever, just the Spurs are going to get off to a better start than the Cavs. And I didn't necessarily have doubts that the Cavs would wake up and get it together. And obviously they did. And they were up by 16 at 46-30. And a large part of that because of how good Donovan Mitchell's second stint in this game was. His first stint wasn't great. I don't think he made a basket. I think all of his points I think he had 3 points from the free throw line, or maybe he had 1 basket and 3 points from the free throw line. Like it just was not, it was kind of a, is Donovan still not right after having a considerable amount of time off? I know he played on Sunday against Utah. He then was back in Cleveland. He beat the team back to Cleveland. He did not stay out west for that game against Portland. He flew back early, which I do think is something that is, a benefit to him, obviously. And I think that's part of the reason why he looked as good as he did on Thursday night. But you thought early on, man, does he not necessarily look great? And he had played since the game against Phoenix nearly a week ago. He'd only played 21 minutes because that's all he played in Utah, and he did not play against Portland on Tuesday. So I thought he looked fresh. I thought he looked explosive. He had that dunk. I think that was right before the end of the third quarter, right before the buzzer. He had that dunk, which was a really nice play. And he hit 4 threes. And that is, of course, a very important thing when you talk about his game, because as I talked about on the show, as I wrote about over at the Inside Shot, like that had been a big thing that had been hurting the Cavs offense, is that Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland too, and Darius did not have a very good night against the Spurs, but that those guys were missing a lot of shots that we are used to seeing them make, because they've been making them all year at a very high clip. And they just, Donovan particularly, fell off a cliff, on 3-pointers. So 4 of 9, I believe it was, which you will absolutely take, especially considering what he's been lately. 4 of 9 from deep, took 18 shots in the game overall. Thought this was an efficient night. I thought that his playmaking too, I think there's a case to be made that this was the most complete game that Donovan has played all season. You know, he did the rebounding. He was 2 rebounds shy of his first career triple-double, which continues to elude him. But he had 14 assists, which sets a career high. And I mean, he was just an absolute master with the basketball in his hands on Thursday night. I was just supremely impressed with the way that the control he had over this game. I thought was a really, really awesome thing to see. I think, you know, if you're somebody that has been worried about Donovan Mitchell, and I can understand that a little bit because we've not seen him go through a shooting slump quite like the one that he's been in. But I thought that the way he performed on Thursday night, and it's not just the shooting stuff, that is a big part of it, obviously. Seeing him score 25 points, seeing him be efficient from the floor, shoot over 40% from the field, over 40% from 3, make all 5 free throws, like those are all good signs. But to me, the thing that stood out was just how much he controlled this game. Like this game had his fingerprints all over it in ways that, you know, I don't know that he was always impacting winning like this during this slump. I think that there were a couple of games where maybe the Cavs lost because of Donovan Mitchell not doing enough, or maybe they won despite Donovan Mitchell in some senses. And Donovan was not the only reason the Cavs won this game on Thursday night. And Jarrett Allen deserves a lot of credit, and we're going to talk about Jarrett Allen in a second. But Donovan, I don't think that this was like some statement game, because after all, it's the Spurs on March 27th, and the Spurs are not a very good basketball team. But I do think that this is a game that if you were worried about Donovan, if you worried about the Cavs, this is a game that I think you look at and you can say, okay, you know what? Everything's going to be fine. Everything's going to be okay. That Donovan Mitchell hasn't suddenly lost it. And like, I do think it was silly to ever think, oh, Donovan's going to just forgot how to play basketball. Like that was a silly thing. They were in the midst of a tough West Coast trip at a tough time of the season. And I do think that the groin injury has been bothering him a little bit. I think at this point, he looked better. I thought that this was the best he's looked on the floor for the Cavs. And I know he's had spurts at times over the last month, but the fact that he was able to put it all together in a game on Thursday night should be a great sign. And I think that this is a sign of things to come. The Cavs are not going to look their best yet. They're going to get there. They're not going to look their best yet. I think that, you know, there's a chance on Friday against Detroit, maybe they look tired. Like that, I think would be a very understandable thing, considering that they got home at 7:00 Wednesday morning from the West Coast, and 36 hours later, they play a basketball game, and then they have to travel after. Like that's a tough hand to be dealt. But if you want to look for the positives here, aside from the fact that they won, that they were able to close out this game, that, you know, Darius Garland, despite not having a very good night, was able to make plays down the stretch of this game, that Jarrett Allen was fantastic in the fourth quarter. You can look at all of those things. But the thing that mattered the most is that Donovan Mitchell looked like Donovan Mitchell. And I think for the last couple of weeks, we've all been waiting for a night just like this one, where maybe he doesn't have to go off and score 40 points, because that's not how the Cavs are built right now. But I think we needed to see Donovan look like a superstar. And I don't know that we've always seen that over the last month. He struggled. It's not a big deal, as I've been trying to say on the show, but he looked like a first-team All-NBA player on Thursday night. I thought he was great. The playmaking was absolutely fantastic. The scoring was really good. There were stretches in this game where I really thought that he carried the Cavs, even if it wasn't only scoring. That part of it was with his passing. And I thought some of the passes he threw, like he had another one that was a cross-court pass to the left corner. I believe it was for an Isaac Okoro 3. He had another kick out to the wing for Dean Wade, who I believe Dean hit the 3 from the right wing. And just like some of the passes that he made against the Spurs on Thursday were very, very impressive. And I thought that is the best thing to come away from this game is, yes, the Cavs won, and any win is a good win. And especially because it seems like Boston just refuses to lose right now. And, of course, they beat the Phoenix Suns by 30 the other night. But that magic number keeps going down. It's down to 5 now after the Cavs win on Thursday. But the Cavs are they're not going to go as far as Donovan Mitchell takes them, because this is a really, really good team. And that's so much more than just Donovan Mitchell. But to get to where they want to go, Donovan Mitchell needs to have a lot more nights like he did on Thursday. And I thought it was a really good sign with 3.5 weeks before the playoffs begin to see Donovan Mitchell sort of break out of his slump and have a night like that. Now, Jarrett Allen had a monster second half. We're going to talk about that, everything that he did right, plus a little bit of an update on his hand. We'll do that next right here on Locked On Cavs. Today's show brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. March Madness is here, and FanDuel giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Because right now, new FanDuel customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. It's $200 to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories who could be cutting down the nets after it all, or maybe the Cavs tonight, or maybe baseball, because that is back this week, even though I didn't realize that it was opening day the other day. Snuck up on me. But with FanDuel, you can take advantage of all of it. Maybe you have your eye on one of the heavy favorites, because this NCAA, this tournament, March Madness, seems to be kind of chalk right now, right? Like we're seeing a lot of the favorites win. So maybe you're just going to ride one of those all the way. And FanDuel makes it easy to back them with spreads, totals, game props, and so much more. And tournament games happening almost every day still. So there's always something exciting to bet on. And the FanDuel app, simple to use. And when you win, you get paid instantly. There is no waiting around. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. Again, that is FanDuel.com, FanDuel.com. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Today's show is also brought to you by Epicor. Every team knows the value of hard work, of taking pride in what you build and practicing every detail to get the best results. But no one player, no matter how amazing, can do it all alone. Working together makes getting the win easier. At Epicor, the all-stars are the hardworking manufacturers and distributors who create and deliver the things we all need, from aerospace to electrical to medical devices. Epicor ERP solutions are created by industry experts to help make every day easier. Seeing your whole supply chain is easier. Managing logistics is easier. Responding to price changes is easier. From small businesses with big dreams to growing enterprises with a global vision, they'll equip you with the right tools to move forward, think ahead, and lead the way. Because as the clock ticks down, you need to make the most of every hard-working minute. Easier doesn't cut corners. Easier takes the lead. Discover your success at easierwithepicor.com. That is easierwithepicor.com. Thank you again for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. You can find the show, like I said earlier, wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Make sure you drop us a 5-star rating. Leave us a nice review. Be a friend. Tell a friend about Locked On Cavs. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure a friend is subscribed as well. Make sure you're also subscribed to the Locked On Cavs daily newsletter. It is your one stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. You can sign up for free right now at LockedOnDaily.com. That is LockedOnDaily.com. Start your day with the all-new free Locked On Cavs newsletter. Jarrett Allen was fantastic in this game. So he finished the night for the Cavs with 29 points. It seems as if they have taken rebounds away from him. When I started the show, he had 16 rebounds. When I recorded my 94 feet, if you follow me on Twitter or Blue Sky, where I walk the length of the Cavs floor and basically give a 1-minute summary of what happened, Jarrett Allen had 16 points, or had 16 rebounds when that happened. Now he only has 15. So the stats folks took a rebound away from Jarrett Allen, but that does not minimize anything that he did on Thursday night. He, in the first half, he had 2 points, wasn't super involved. Kenny Atkinson commented after the game that he kind of thought that Jarrett was low energy in the first half. And then after the game, Max Strus made the joke that Jarrett just was still on West Coast time. So the fact that the game was starting too early for him because he was still his body clock 3 hours back. And then once he realized, oh, the game's going on, he was fantastic. And part of the reason for Jarrett's success is that San Antonio in the fourth quarter played really small. They played without a center. And of course, there's no Victor Wembanyama as part of the San Antonio Spurs team anymore because of the blood clot in his shoulder. But Bismack Biyombo, old nemesis, if you think all the way back to that 2016 conference final series against the Toronto Raptors when he was part of that team, made a lot of money based on that series. But he gave Jarrett some problems in the first half. And in the second half, maybe not as much. He did have a really nice dunk on Jarrett, I believe it was. But he didn't play much in the fourth quarter. And that, I do think part of it was, I don't know that San Antonio had a ton of interest in winning this game. But Jarrett Allen took advantage of the fact that the Spurs were essentially playing Harrison Barnes at center for a large stretch of this game. And Harrison Barnes is obviously not a center. So San Antonio started to switch, maybe not everything, but a lot of things. And there were several possessions where, Chris Paul ended up on Jarrett Allen, or Stephon Castle ended up on Jarrett Allen. I believe that Devin Vassell ended up on Jarrett Allen at times. So it was, Keldon Johnson at times. Basically, a lot of guys that are smaller than Jarrett tried to defend Jarrett, and it didn't go well for them. And that, I think, is a really good sign that Jarrett was able to, on a night where Evan Mobley didn't play. Like, I do think that, had Evan played, he probably would have had a really similar line to what Jarrett played, or what Jarrett put up in this game. But in the fourth quarter, the Spurs didn't play Bismack Biyombo at all. They played Jeremy Sohan, who, kind of moonlights as a center at times, but he really is not a guy that has a position, I guess. They really didn't play a big. And Jarrett took advantage. So in the 8 minutes and 39 seconds he played in the fourth quarter, he had 19 points, was a plus 11, 7 rebounds on 6 of 6 from the floor, 7 of 9 from the foul line, and hit a block too. He was fantastic. He was absolutely fantastic down the stretch. He is one of the biggest reasons why the Cavs won this game because, and give San Antonio credit for this, like every time that the Cavs made a push and got the lead out to like 6, 7, 8, somewhere in that ballpark. And so often we see the Cavs get there, and I don't want to say the other team folds because that's not true, but we see the Cavs get to that point, and then the other team really struggles to rein it back in. And the Cavs will hit a couple of threes, and that'll be that, and it's just time to turn off the lights and go home. Now, that didn't happen in this game, and give San Antonio credit for this. I think a lot of that is the fact that, as I mentioned earlier, it was the first game back from a West Coast trip for the Cavs, and that's a really tough spot to be in. But that is something that's just worth thinking about. They couldn't put them away, so Jarrett Allen put them away. And this is not something I would expect to see. Like in the postseason, do I think that Jarrett Allen is going to be closing out teams with 19 points in the fourth quarter? No, I don't. And a large part of that has to do with, if Evan plays, I don't know that Jarrett Allen closes this game because we have seen the Cavs be willing to close games with Jarrett Allen on the bench. Now, he's going to close a lot of games, but I don't know that he's going to close every game. So this could have been Evan Mobley's night, but you got to give a ton of credit to Jarrett Allen for doing this. And, he has stopped having the tape, I guess, or wrap or whatever you want to call it on his hand. I do think that he's looked better in that aspect. I think that there are times where he looks a little, as Kenny Atkinson said, maybe low energy is the right word. I think fatigued. Probably that shoe probably fits right now. He's played in every single game that the Cavs have played so far this year. So I do think that that is something like you're going to see, I would imagine, in the first round of the playoffs, a very different Jarrett Allen after having a week off between the end of the regular season and the start of the postseason. But he was great in this game, and the Cavs do not win this game without him. That said, the rebounding aspect, which you cannot put all on the bigs, like it's not all Jarrett Allen's fault, but that is something that the Cavs do need to figure out because they've been really struggling on the offensive or on the defensive glass to prevent teams from getting on the offensive glass. Like Portland the other night had 19 offensive rebounds. The Spurs had 19 offensive rebounds. Now the Cavs still out rebounded San Antonio because, of course, the Spurs missed more shots than the Cavs did. But that the Cavs, part of their issue right now, I do think, is giving up just a few too many second chance opportunities. That is something Jarrett needs to be better at. That's something Evan needs to be better at. That's something everybody needs to be better at. But I do think you look and see that the rebounding stuff was a little bit more of a team effort tonight, where Donovan had 8, Jarrett obviously had 15, DeAndre Hunter had 7. Like, those things do matter. But overall, this was such a good second half by Jarrett Allen. I think he deserves a lot of credit. He says the hand is not bothering him anymore. Like, once in a while it'll hurt, but it's at the point now where he's comfortable not having it braced or taped or whatever you want to call that. He did say it started to feel like a little bit of a detriment to him. And I just think that you're starting to see him. And there was one where I think it was Max Strus that threw him the pass that probably wasn't a good pass. I don't think it was Jarrett's fault, where he couldn't hang on to the ball there. But overall, I think over the last couple of games, you've just seen him be a little bit better with the basketball in his hands. So I do think that hand is feeling better, which of course is a really good sign. So we do have a few other things to talk about from this game, like Darius Garland not having a great night. Javonte Green stepping up. He had some big plays. We'll dive into that next right here on Locked On Cavs. Thank you again for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. As I said earlier, if you're watching the show on YouTube, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button for me, click subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content. Darius Garland didn't have a great game for the Cavs, but he did come up clutch, which is something that we have seen even on nights where Darius hasn't been at his best. He finished the night against San Antonio with only 10 points, just 2 of 7 from 3, but one of the ones that he hit was a big one in the fourth quarter. He hit, I guess we'll call it a finger roll with 20 seconds left. That was really served as the dagger in this game. Like, at that point, and I don't think San Antonio was necessarily coming back before then, but at that point, that was game over. And Darius stepped up in the clutch, as we've seen him do a number of times throughout this season. So would it be nice to see Darius and Donovan have a really good game on the same night? Yeah, I think that is one of the things that you would like to see from the Cavs in the 9 remaining regular season games that they have. We haven't gotten that in a few weeks, over a month at this point. Neither of those guys have played great. Like, I don't think it's been one or the other. I think more nights than not, it's been neither, which is a different issue, but I do think that we're getting past that. I would expect to see that soon. I think within the next week, we are going to see both Darius and Donovan have a good game together for the first time in a while. And I think that then it's another reason to feel good about this team going into the postseason. Javonte Green, I think, deserves to be talked about a little bit too. And I think there's a few guys that deserve to be talked about. So Javonte Green in this game played 8 minutes and 34 seconds. He was a team best plus 15. And the plus minus stat doesn't always do justice to how you play. Like, for instance, Jarrett Allen was great in this game. He was a +1. Like, he played much better than being a +1. I thought Max Strus was really good in this game. He had 18 points. He had 4 threes. He did a lot of little things. He was a -2. Like, he didn't feel like a minus. But Javonte Green, like, when he was out there, I thought he made a really big impact on the game. And it was a lot of stuff that might not show up in the box score. But in his 8 minutes, he had 5 rebounds, and a couple of those were offensive rebounds that extended possessions. And it seemed like when he did that stuff, good things happened. And I do think that there's always room for that type of player. Now, what does he look like in the postseason? I don't know. I don't know if the Cavs are going to have room for him to be in the playoff rotation when that does get here, if everybody is healthy. But I also view him as somebody that can absolutely bring energy off the bench and do the little things. I do kind of wonder if, is his postseason role for this team going to let's go back almost a decade at this point. Is his postseason role going to mirror what Dante Jones did for the 2016 Cavs? If you think back, Dante didn't play a ton. He was signed, I believe, on the last day of the regular season. And I think their final regular season game was against Detroit. So he played in that game. But then, he had some big moments in the playoffs. Like he had a big moment or two against the Toronto Raptors in the conference finals. He had a big moment in game 6 of the NBA finals against the Golden State Warriors, I believe it was. Can Javonte Green do that stuff? Like that is kind of, to me, what I envision his postseason role to be now. He hit a 3, which was, I thought, a pretty big shot for the Cavs in the fourth quarter of this one. But you're not looking for him for scoring. You're looking for him to do the little things, create extra possessions. And that's what he did. I think that's the thing when he comes off the bench, is playing 8 minutes, 2 offensive rebounds and a steal. That I think is a hugely successful night for him. Yeah, 3 points is 3 points. Like that's whatever. 1 assist, whatever. 5 rebounds are nice. But the fact that 2 of them were offensive and he had a steal, like that is the type of thing I think the Cavs are really looking for from Javonte in whatever minutes he's going to get in the postseason and in the rest of the regular season too. But overall, this is not going to be looked at as some nice win because the Cavs beat a bad team that, frankly, I don't think has a ton of interest in winning right now in the San Antonio Spurs. But I do think there are a lot of reasons to be happy about this game. And I also think that the Cavs probably deserve a little bit more credit for winning this game, just because when you get back from a West Coast trip, and we've seen this a couple of times in recent history, and the Cavs have been put in a tough spot. And only having one day off coming back from, the West Coast is not an easy thing to deal with. And they were out there for 10 days. They got back from Portland around 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, Wednesday morning. And then they played 36 hours later. And then, of course, now they play tonight in Detroit, which is a whole different conversation. But that's a tough spot. The first game back from a road trip is often difficult. And we have seen at times, and the Cavs have done a good job of winning these games, but we've seen some of their worst home games against bad teams have been in this spot. It's a difficult thing to do, and the Cavs deserve a lot of credit, I think, for finding a way to kind of gut this one out. Like this is a win that I view as kind of a gritty win, kind of a win that, I don't think immature teams necessarily always get. I think this could have been a really easy game to just look at the schedule and say, oh, it's the Spurs. We'll figure it out. We'll be fine. But I did think that the Cavs had the appropriate focus level. I thought that they had the appropriate energy level for most of this game. Certainly not the first few minutes, but for most of this game, I thought that they had that. I thought that they looked like a team that is starting to get ready for the postseason. And I think that's a good sign. Now, we'll see what that looks like tonight in Detroit. I will be at Little Caesars Arena. So if you are there, if you're a Cavs fan going to this game and you see me either in my seat or on the concourse or whatever, come up, say hi, say what's up. Would love to catch up. But thank you for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. I will have an episode tomorrow after the Cavs take on the Pistons, probably from the arena in Detroit. And then we will get right back to it next week because the Cavs take on the Clippers Sunday afternoon in Cleveland. The Whip Around Show, I believe, will be back again on Monday, one of the final episodes of the season, because, hey, there's only a couple of weeks left. But thank you for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. You can find the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating. Leave us a nice review. Be a friend. Tell a friend about Locked On Cavs. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure a friend is subscribed as well. And if you're watching on YouTube, do me a favor. Hit that thumbs up button for me. Click subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content. I'll be back tomorrow.